Hello again and welcome to the Memoir channel. My name is Nikki Smart and today I'm going to be chatting with Paul Drugan about his memoir, Forgiving Dr. Jekyll, From Hyde to Healing. So this memoir, it hasn't actually come out yet. The release date, I believe, is the 15th of April this year. And Paul is a mental health advocate for men. I believe he's in Chicago. And he writes about the long-term impact of childhood trauma and repression, and especially, with men where they are taught to they're taught to suppress their emotions and not cry and not talk about anything, and what the cost of that is, what it does to mental health for men. The book, I mean, when I got to the part which is towards the end where Paul is describing the step-by-step process he went through to find himself, I loved that. I thought it was so thorough and so well laid out, and it really spoke to me. And I think anyone that is struggling with any kind of childhood trauma could really benefit from reading this, because it's just a very clear layout of how you're going to get to the other side. Okay, let's go talk to Paul and find out more. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the Memoir channel.
Thank you, Nikki. How are you?
I'm well.
Good to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you here. So could you just briefly sort of give an overview of what your book is about, just for people that haven't, well, no one's read it because it hasn't come out yet, has it?
Yeah, it'll be out April 15th
Right,
is the launch date. Yeah, so you're right.
right.
Basically, it's a memoir about my relationship with primarily my father,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very physically abusive relationship, and what that did to me after, as I grew, it was I was 13 when everything started, and he died when I was 23. So it was about a 10-year time span of first physical and then emotional abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and it really did a number on me. So I got into addictions and kind of the typical trauma journey that unfortunately people
Yeah.
go on when they go through stuff like this, and then I get into, the central theme is how I forgave him, but forgiveness, I think people have I didn't use the typical standard definition of forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
because that's points more towards the abuser, and I went inward and wanted to forgive myself. Basically, I lived a long life of shame, and I just thought always, because I was taught that way, that I was not good enough, and I
Right.
sabotaged. I had a great career, but I sabotaged it, and all kinds of horrible things. And so, what I say is, like, is abuse. The abuser puts the hook in you, but you're responsible for taking the hook out of yourself
Right.
and moving on and becoming self-actualized. And so I don't really get into that. I give a concept, an overview of that. I don't get into the nitty gritty of it, but most of the book is about the journey that I took after he died,
Right.
and what that meant to me.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I know it's more about sort of it's the shame and self-destruction, and then I mean, I thought it was very, very impressive how you turned yourself around, and I loved that it was so clear, like your path, you laid it out so well.
Oh, thank you.
And I was saying that I think that would be very helpful for anyone that's gone through trauma themselves, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, unfortunately, there's a road that everybody goes down, and there are very standard signposts
Right.
on everyone's journey is different, and it ends up differently. But there are also these, and I didn't really notice it until I kind of became aware that I had been, in this situation. And then when I did, I talked to other people about it. They were like, they would say, "Oh yeah, that was me too. I definitely did this and did
Mm-hmm.
that, and recognized this, and had this relationship with this person." So
Yeah.
but the major thing is that you have to, I think, when you talk about healing, the three things that you need to really concentrate on are, you have to be aware in the beginning. So you have to be aware that something's going on, and that didn't happen
No,
with me until I saw other families and how they interacted with their siblings, until I figured out mine was dysfunctional.
right.
And and then you have to be, you really have to be actionable at the end. You have to take action yourself to pull yourself out of it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but you have to take action, and you have to, um, whether that's therapy or meditation or
Hmm.
a 12-step program, they're
Right.
very valuable, things like
Yeah.
that. But you have to do something.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you there was one part where you said how, your denial was so strong. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm reading about it, and here you are, like you said your skin color is almost purple. You're like so unhealthy at this point, and yet you're still going, no, there's nothing, I'm fine.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Right? It's amazing how your mind can fool yourself, right?
It
Like,
really is so powerful. Like
yeah,
everybody in my sphere, kind of in my world knew, and
yeah,
I did too. But I didn't want to own up to
yeah.
it. But everybody knew what was going on with me. I had been a substance abuser for many, many years, and when it caught up to me, it affected my heart,
Hmm.
and so that the ramifications of that were very visible on the outside,
Right.
to people, anybody walking down the street. But I looked in the mirror and I thought I looked like Paul Newman or something. That's how
Right,
skewed that was.
right. And I mean, I love the way you said, then you had, I think it was, you said you had a panic attack that put you in hospital. It wasn't a
I
heart
did.
attack, but you thought it might be a heart attack, right?
Yeah,
Because they feel exactly like that.
they
Um,
do. Yeah.
and that was sort of the turning point for you. That's when you sort of had this one little thought that was starting to go, hang on, maybe I need to, you take another look at this.
Yeah, it was really, to me, when I started reading and getting spiritual about this whole thing. I read about the dark night of the soul,
Hmm.
and that the real kind of cathartic, um, that point in somebody's life that is very fortunate, and that happened to me. It was very, it, it was just basically a voice, and I was sitting by myself, and I don't know where it came from. It wasn't my voice, but it just said to me, uh, you know, you got to do something about this. It's done. You're done with that whole life. And I was in my 50s then. And
Right.
after life, it was powerful that it made me think about jettisoning life that I had led for 50 plus years. So that
Hmm.
was a, pretty
Yeah.
powerful thing. And I took steps kind of right away. It was a big, big wake up call, and
Hmm.
and then the rest of my life was, stepping towards healing, which never ends. But
Yeah.
if you get on that path, and it's
Yeah.
it's good to keep going down
It
that.
it is amazing to me how, childhood damage can take so long for people to
Yeah,
even recognize in themselves. And it just, you're damaging everything around you, and mostly yourself, of course. And,
yeah.
and yeah,
It really is. I mean, that's a really good, it's a good observation to have. And it was really evident in after this whole thing. I thought to myself, you ended up exactly as you were taught as a child.
hmm,
So you were to be silent. You were not worth anything. You were worth being hit.
Right.
And I was the only one in my family that
Right. Which
went through
makes it
that.
so much worse.
Oh, it's horrible,
It's
because it magnifies all those feelings. Like,
right.
why isn't
Why
my
you?
brother? What,
Yeah.
and so that but it's very easy to see how the patterns that can come from that kind of an upbringing, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a scholar in this at all, but I mean, when I grew up in the 70s, so my parents were baby boomers, I guess, right? There
Mm-hmm.
would be
I'm not. I think
no,
so.
a pre-baby boomers. They were World War II, because they were born in
Right.
the 30s,
Right.
and that's how life was led. And people didn't seek therapy. My father needed
No.
therapy, but they didn't. Wives were subservient to their husbands by and large, and
Mm-hmm.
voted like they
Mm-hmm.
did, and did what they were told to
Yep.
do. And the children were all just like little steps in church. You'd shut
Yeah.
up and you
Yeah.
had no opinion on anything. But I have a sister and two younger brothers, and they all have kids. And one of the greatest blessings of this whole journey has been to watch them break that legacy.
Mm.
So even though they didn't suffer like I did, they saw it, and they didn't really say anything about it then, but they internalized it, and they said to themselves, I'm not going to raise my kids like that because it was wrong. And they
Yeah.
didn't.
Good.
And the kids are all I'm so proud of them. They're smart. They're all accomplished in ways that they define that to be, and they're confident. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
they're little. They're adults and now, and
Have they read
they
your
have.
memoir?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
that'll that'll. I gave it to my immediate family, and I know my brother John read it
Mm-hmm.
and liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a bone of contention, I guess. I don't. We'll have to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume my nephews and nieces at some point will read it. When
Right.
it comes out. I hope they do. I would like to look at this as a kind of an educational tool and an
Mm-hmm.
intellectual exercise, other than something that happened to their uncle,
Right.
basically.
I mean, no, I honestly thought your process at the end, when you're working through everything, was fantastic. I mean, it
Oh,
was
thank
just,
you.
yeah, I really, really, I got a lot out of that, and I think anyone that they should all be reading it, because it's sort of like a trail you can follow, because it's such a different. You know what it's like when you're in it. You're just floundering, and you don't really know what's going to work. You just have to
You
sort of
know,
try everything, and then suddenly it just starts to fall into place.
that's an excellent way to put it, because that's what
Yeah.
happened. That's exactly what happened to me, is that I tried everything,
Mm-hmm.
and but at least I was trying, and that's the
Right.
main thing. Is
And you
that
kept exploring. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And then, even like I said, it's a progression, it's a journey, but the scars that come from that can be your greatest friends too.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned as much, and I got as much out of being abused, that greatly helped me in the conduct of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
part of that was being self-aware, and gaining self-love, and sitting
Yeah.
down and loving nature, and
Right.
sitting by yourself and loving that, you
Mm-hmm.
know and
Mm-hmm.
quiet, quietude. It's those are all wonderful things that I'd
Mm-hmm.
never give back again.
Right.
you know
No, and I loved how you started practicing the loving kindness, and towards yourself as well. And I mean, I
yeah,
think that's the key.
it is the key.
Yeah. And I love
it,
that what is it, the Honoponopono? I don't know, how do you say that?
oh yeah. It's called, I had the biggest problem with that word too. It's called Ho'oponopono.
Hoponopono. Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually a very ancient Hawaiian practice, and I used it as one tool,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of forgive myself. And it's very simple. It was revived by this psychologist in Hawaii in the 1950s, and they did a study. He went into a prison and practiced this, I think, for 6 months or something like that. But they found that the rates of prison violence declined measurably, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only program that they had. So people in the spiritual community, it's a way of, like I said, there are millions of different ways of meditation, and that's one of them that I love the message from it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I kind of
Mm-hmm.
practiced it. It's 4 lines. It's very easy to
Right.
do.
Yeah. But I mean, I love that you said, let me just see how you said it, something about how you were interested in the science of forgiveness. Like you actually wanted to really climb in there and understand, like, even chemically what's going on in my body. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
found all that fascinating.
yeah, it's really interesting what it does, because I had had high blood pressure my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and and I think I was the only one in my family when I was younger to experience that. But I had heart problems, and because I was under so much stress,
Stress.
and
Yeah.
my producing cortisol like crazy, and that just adds to health problems when you get older, and has um, all kinds of ramifications. But the biggest thing that I got into is the power of breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I never really thought of it that way, but my therapist and she suggested that I start doing a little deep breathing, and it was amazing. I'm not endorsing this. I'm just saying this worked for me.
Right.
Is that I had an arrhythmia for many, many years since I was 18, and I started this breath work diligently every day for about a half an hour. I would do
Mm-hmm.
it, and still do.
Right.
And I was on, I think, 5 or 6 heart medications, and I was able to cut them down to 2, and
Wow.
my arrhythmia went away.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Breath work is amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's amazing that your body can, it responds to stuff. So I mean, it's got all this pressure and the stress, so it goes one way, and then when you take that away and you help it, it can completely calm down and
Yeah,
and function the way it's supposed to. It's quite
and you can
amazing.
be in a, you can be in a situation, and I find myself. I live in Chicago, which is a
Mm-hmm.
big city and has many. It's kind of gritty and rough here,
Right.
but and you get into these situations where when you're under stress, or I look at this one 5, 10 years ago, let's say, I reacted a different way. But when you get
Mm-hmm.
into this kind of meditation and breath work, and kind of going inward, they don't bother you like they used to.
Right.
You just learn how to kind of let them roll off your back.
Right.
These noises, even things like that, they just don't. They take a back seat. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't walk around with your head in the clouds. I don't, but I just feel so much calmer about
Right. Right.
things.
That's amazing. And you're actually, are you teaching? I mean, are you? And I saw you were a mental health advocate. I mean, are you actually giving classes or talks or?
Yeah, I haven't. I want to go out on the lecture circuit and talk about. I'm concerned about men's mental health. Not everybody's really, but
Mm-hmm.
because my lived experiences as a man, I look at this great crisis, and I don't think it's relegated to the United States. Young men are really suffering a lot because of politics and COVID and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. That they're
Mm-hmm.
paying a very deep price. And you know our veterans community too, although that's not just, obviously, it's like I said, it's not just males, it's everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the rates of suicide for young men have gone through the roof. The statistics on
Yeah.
men, they don't care, or they're not engaging in relationships. They don't, in terms of having sex at a certain age, they've stopped doing that, and they don't want to, they don't want to follow the traditional, like getting married, having kids, starting a family. And there's many different reasons for that. But, I'd like to be as much of an advocate for everybody, in healing that I can. And I do a lot of writing, so I've published some stuff in some magazines, and will continue to do that. But I would, I'd love to get out there and on the huskings and start talking about this stuff with people. This is a perfect example. This is great. It's a great outlet to have.
Well, would you maybe read us a section of your book?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just start from chapter 1 and just read a little bit, and let me know when you've had enough, and I'll stop.
Well, no, you just stop when you find. I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Just stop where it feels natural for you.
So just a little background. I start my chapter. My dad died when I was 23. So let me just start from there. The long journey to the person I've become began at 10:24 on the morning of July 18th, 1983, when my father died. He was 52 years old. I was 24. My mother and I drove home alone from Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston that day. My brothers and sister drove themselves. Glancing over when we left the parking lot, my mother stared out the window as she slumped into the passenger seat. She clutched a rosary that my aunt had given her and kept rubbing the same bead. My God, I can't wrap my head around this. What are we going to do now? No words would cut through her pain, so I focused my sight forward and paid attention to the thick traffic on Sturrow Drive that curled along the Charles River to the highway. The cold air from the air conditioner swirled around my face, cooling my head and taking my attention away from the noonday sun blazing over the city. Once on Route 93, the smooth spin of the tires calmed my racing heart, which felt as if it might leap out of my chest. The trip home seemed to last forever, each tick of the odometer a weight on the words I was trying to conjure. We took the same anxiety-filled route home from the hospital so many times that it was as if the car drove itself. My mother broke her silence by saying, I need to be away from that goddamn hospital. Home is the only place I feel safe. I know, me too. We're almost there, Mom. Her eyes moistened with tears, and she whispered, drive faster. She clutched the door handle tighter. We turned off at our exit and drove down a long, winding street, passing the country club we belonged to. My neighborhood had stately old homes that reflected the suburban ideal. Status and its loyal companion, gossip, pulsed behind the brass door knockers and neatly trimmed hedges and wove through manicured green lawns. Still, the familiar surroundings enveloped us. A mild sense of calm loosened my death grip on the wheel and relaxed my mother's shoulders. Word of my father's death raced through the neighborhood before we could make the 20-minute journey from Boston to our house in the northern suburbs, 15 miles from the city. The weight of our sadness pressed down on us. Our neighbors were staring from their front porches as we slowed down the street. Their gawking turned our private grief into community theater. After we pulled up the driveway, my mother slid out of the car. Her bloodshot eyes were drawn to her bedroom window behind the eave above the garage. She froze. How am I going to clean out his closet? Who am I going to give all those clothes to? Your Uncle Bob can take some. They dress the same. Mom, pay attention to where you're going. Let's take it slow, okay? Do you want to take a nap? No, I'm not ready to go up there. We have so much to do with everybody coming over. We have enough coffee, don't we? I don't know. I'll run down and get some, I said. Do you want me to keep going?
No, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
So
that's the first couple of...
That's the beginning, right?
That's the beginning. No. A happy note, but...
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought it was really sad. There was one place where you wrote, you realized that you didn't think you deserved to be happy. And I'm like, yeah, that's horrible. So that's
It's horrible.
right. It is horrible. And you're saying now, then you would just self-sabotage. And anytime you're getting close to success, you would pull the rug out on yourself, right?
Yeah, in everything, in every aspect of one's life that happens. So,
Yeah.
I found it in my work life, in my love life, in pretty much it touched everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so when
Mm-hmm.
I smelled that success, I just ran away from it because didn't think I was worth it.
Didn't think you deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I loved how you said, let me just read how you said it. Oh, when you were starting to heal now, right? And then you go, you took your shame of life support. I loved how you
Yeah.
I loved how you said that. Yeah. And
Yeah, I that was an old friend that had been with me for many, many years,
mhm.
Shane, and it was good to see him go,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It's
And
amazing because it's a hard thing to do. It's a
very,
really, really hard thing to do.
yeah.
So, and I think, do you feel that you're pretty much healed, or as you said, it's kind of an ongoing thing? I mean, there are days where everything's great, and then maybe something creeps in again, and you have to. I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking.
That's an excellent question, and I think that I look at signs in my life. My book is one of them.
Hmm.
I've been a writer my whole life, but I never thought I was good enough to publish a book, and I did. And
Right.
but the exercise of writing it was because you have to follow through, and that was one of my big issues growing up was I never followed through with anything.
Ah,
I'd go
okay.
out and play golf, let's say, and I'd quit halfway through, or you know, studying, I just kind of wouldn't
Amazing.
finish and things like that. This was the first real project I undertook where from start to finish, I was diligent about it, and I really liked doing it.
Mm,
You
good.
know, and so that was one of the indications that things were working for me. I mean, I'm not perfect, and there are
Right.
still some things that I have to work on, but it's not overwhelming,
Hmm.
and I think by and large, Nikki, like I just appreciate things more. I appreciate
Right.
my friends. I appreciate a beautiful summer day.
Hmm.
I appreciate a good read, and a good conversation more than anything else.
Right.
And those real, I guess, probably it sounds kind of corny, but it's getting to the simple things in life is a real measure that, or appreciating the simple things in life is a real measure that you have not come home, but you're on your way there.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have, I mean, for your book launch, are you doing something? Do you have plans for that?
I don't. There's a bookstore in my neighborhood
Uh-huh.
that I'm gonna try to get them to do an event on that day. I got to go up today, as a matter of fact, and talk to the lady. But I'm just gonna let it. I've done a lot of marketing,
Mhm.
about it, and I have some things going on. So we'll just see what that brings. But this is kind of a long tail thing. I'm writing a novel now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and so I will, I don't know when that's going to be done, but it's along the same lines
Hmm.
of a father-son relationship. But it's in terms of this one, it's up on Amazon. I have a
Hmm.
website which is
Okay.
pauldrugan.com,
Yeah, I'll put the
and I
information underneath here as well so people can
oh,
see.
great,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, I have a blog, and most of the writing is about men's mental health.
Hmm.
And so, um, but yeah,
Fantastic.
I hope, yeah, that this. Thank you for having me on. This is a
Absolutely.
wonderful, wonderful thing, and I think it's great to talk about it,
Hmm.
because it makes you get your thoughts in order, and
Right.
Um,
But
it's a wonderful
I
thing.
got to say, that was one of the things I loved so much, is because I felt like you really did have your thoughts in order.
Yeah,
Like it just felt, it was, it felt like a very step by step. And then towards the end, when you're just enjoying just waking up and hearing a bird or something, it was just like, oh, it's so lovely. Like I could really
oh,
feel it
thank you.
for you, this healing and the lovely peace that you suddenly experience when you actually break through. It's such a it's such a beautiful place to be. Yeah, I was getting a bit
Yeah.
weepy. I was in my coffee shop getting weepy.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
It
Uh,
it really teaches you gratitude.
yeah.
That's the other
Yeah.
big thing, is that every morning I start my morning by, just maybe not praying, but just kind of incorporating this feeling of gratitude, because you've
Hmm.
been through a
Yeah.
nightmare, and now
Yeah.
you're not anymore, and
Right.
there's just so
It's
much to be thankful
so
for.
true. And that's the thing, right? It's you're in this nightmare, and then even though your dad's gone, you just take his place and start doing it to yourself because now this
Right.
is what you're taught, and it's so difficult to find a way out of that. And a lot of people don't. They just
Yeah.
keep going and
That's what my work is about too,
mhm,
is about that exact thing,
right.
because the price that people pay for not removing that hook is a lifetime, because I went through it, as a
Hmm.
lifetime
Hmm.
of expression, which can be addiction, or
Hmm.
rage, or anger, or all these
Yeah.
really horrible
Yeah.
things that affect not only you, but the people that love you, the
Right.
people around
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, it's something that can be addressed and corrected at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully it is.
Well done.
Well done to you.
And
Thank you. You
and
asked great questions.
oh, thank you. And I wish you the best of luck with this book. I hope it does really, really well for you and gets you, a platform to speak on, because I think you would do that very well and help a lot of people.
Thanks so much, Nikki. I
So,
really appreciate it.
yeah.
It was wonderful to be on.
Thank you for coming on.
Okay.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.